Hello, everyone. Welcome to our course introduction. The focus is learning vocabulary through using learners' dictionaries. Our topic is Module 12 of the English language textbook, Everyday Objects. In terms of the course overview, there are 4 consecutive English lessons developed from 4 aspects of vocabulary, each lesson focusing on one particular aspect and is approximately 1 hour long. The first is on meaning, focusing on word meaning. The second is on form, focusing on affixation and compound. The third lesson focuses on pronunciation. And in the last lesson, the first 15 minutes will be allocated to collocation and the rest on task. So this is our team. Kay, myself, introduce the course overview and lesson 1. Kelsey will be introducing lesson 2. Amanda will be introducing lesson 3. And Jiameng will be introducing lesson 4. As mentioned before, the course is developed from 4 aspects of vocabulary, and also learners need teachers to explicitly teach them when and how to consult a learner's dictionary for vocabulary learning, which is what they were designed for. So these are the rationale for our course. The target students are the lower grade senior high school students, and the objectives of the course are to raise their interest, teach them how to, and also consolidate their knowledge of using a learner's dictionary as a vocabulary learning strategy. The overall intended learning outcome for this course is raising students' awareness and interest in using learner's dictionary in vocabulary learning. And the outcome for each lesson is specified on the slide. Throughout the course, we will incorporate a learner's dictionary into classroom learning and teach a range of dictionary information which will be introduced in each lesson in more detail. We will use the online version of the Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English, mostly, and the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary as well. The first lesson is on meaning and will be delivered through 3 in-class awareness-raising teaching activities. In the first activity, the teacher will first introduce students to the Longman 2000 defined vocabulary, which are the words used to write all definitions in the dictionary. The teachers will ask them how many words they can recognize and try looking up words they find interesting or they simply don't know. The teacher will then present them with a list of words selected from the vocabulary list that are not concrete words and can be hard for them. The teacher will then demonstrate to the class how to look up words with a learner's dictionary. So for example, the teacher will show to students how we can look up the word cultivate, which means to prepare and use land for growing crops and plants. So this activity can raise students' awareness and interest in looking up words with a learner's dictionary. In the second activity, the teacher will present to the class a list of ambiguous words that have different meanings. The teacher will then ask students if they really know the meanings of the word in a given context, and ask them to guess and discuss among themselves to exchange thoughts and ideas. After that, the teacher will ask students to look up words in the Longman Learner's Dictionary to check if they got them right. After that, the teacher will then bring back the class to introduce and teach the dictionary use information of the superscript of a word in the Longman Dictionary, indicating a different part of speech. So for example, book as a noun, indicated by the superscript of 1, by the means a set of printed pages to read, and book as a verb, indicated by the superscript of 2, means to make arrangements to stay in a place. So by doing so, students will know where to look for information more efficiently and can consult dictionaries in a more targeted way. They can achieve a sense to learn vocabulary. This can potentially be developed into a lifelong learning strategy. In the third and last activity, the teacher will ask students to complete the activity of filling in blanks with a list of abstract words provided in the word bank and ask them to use the knowledge they learned before to look up unknown words in Longman Learner's Dictionary to complete this activity. In this particular activity, they need to consult dictionaries to know word meanings. For example, they may not know what portable means, and after consulting the dictionary, they find that it refers to the ability to be carried or moved easily. They can then use this definition to fill in the blank in the first sentence, which reads, "More and more people are listening to the radio on portable devices." Since the words selected are based on the theme of camping, which is the theme in the final task, this activity can also prepare them for it. Okay, now that's all for lesson 1.
And now let's turn to the lesson 2. Now I will introduce another 1-hour session, which is about teaching form of the vocabulary. While the whole lesson is divided as 2 parts, that is affixation and compounds. Well, in the first 30 minutes, we will mainly focus on affixation teaching. Well, to begin with, the concept of affix, including prefix and suffix, will be introduced to students. Well, an affix is a word element of English grammar used to alter the meaning or form of a word and comes in the form of either a prefix or a suffix. Well, prefix include examples like un, dis, and re, while suffix comes in the form of ending elements like tion, ing, or al. While prefix typically maintain the word class such as noun, verb, or adjective of the word, while suffix often change the form entirely, as is the case with explorations compared to explore or highlighter compared to highlight. And I will use the word interest as illustration. When it comes to disinterest, dis is the prefix which changed the meaning of the word. When it comes to interesting on the right side, the ing is the suffix which changed the word from verb or noun to adjective. But after that, I will show them the example of organize in the Longman Dictionary and tell them they can find all the information in the word family section, just as the picture shows above. Then a word list that includes the vocabulary from Module 12 will be provided to students, all of which have their own prefix or suffix. And I will ask students to look up them in the Longman Dictionary to find all the affixation of each word. But after finishing the dictionary searching, I will also teach them how to search for an affix in the dictionary, like posting a hyphen after the dis to indicate that this is a prefix. Next, there is an activity. They need to write down all the common affix they encounter in the dictionary, and they will work in a group to discuss the meanings and functions of those affix. But they are permitted to look up the dictionary again to find the specific information of an affix. After the discussion, I will write down all the affix as well as their meanings and functions according to the group presented. Then the next 30 minutes is for compounds teaching. But firstly, I will teach students what the compound word is. And when deciding if a word is a compound, remember that the meaning of the compound word relates to the meaning of the 2 words that combine to form it. But after that, 3 types of compounds word will be taught to students, namely open compounds like living room, closed compounds like campfire, and hyphenated compounds like mother-in-law. Next, when it comes to activity, a form with selected words from Module 12 will be offered to students to practice as the picture shows below. Students are supposed to identify those compound words with the help of Longman Dictionary, whether they belong to open, closed, or hyphenated compounds. Examples are shown in the right side, but besides, they need to find out the relationships between the types of compounds and their word class or meaning change. For example, whether most hyphenated compounds are adjective or the meaning of a closed compound is more tightly than the open one. Well, after that, they can discuss their own findings. In this way, students can use dictionary as a supportive tool to help themselves gain different perceptions of a word, since every student will observe something different in the dictionary. But after their discussion, they can have a better command of affixations and compounds. And that is all the part of the form of the vocabulary. Let's turn to the next person.
Okay, so this is lesson 3. Lesson 3 is learning vocabulary pronunciation through using online learners' dictionaries. As this lesson is a productive lesson to maximize students' production, it will be taught in deductive approach. Learners' autonomy will be encouraged, and students will be offered a plenty of opportunities to explore using dictionary as a supporting tool in vocabulary learning by themselves. And also, as I mentioned, this is a productive lesson. It also aims at maximizing students' participation and production. To supplement the deductive teaching approach, explicit decoding instructions will be applied to enhance students' awareness on phonological features. such as syllables, stress, and weak form. By doing this, ultimately, students' pronunciation can be improved. Here are the target vocabulary items for this module from textbook. In this lesson, students will learn syllables, counting, stress, and weak form, length of sounds, and so on, with using online dictionaries. The staging model of this lesson is test, teach, test. At the first test stage, students will be asked to read a word out and tick the first box if they are able to pronounce it. After that, students will work in groups and check the pronunciation in the online Oxford Learners Dictionaries to see generally if they can pronounce more. Then we will move to the second stage, teach. The phonological features will be taught explicitly. In the meantime, students will be offered opportunities to explore those features from the online dictionaries by themselves. First of all, the teacher will demonstrate how to count syllables. For example, the first word, rod. Students can clap their hands while pronouncing the word rod. So it is one syllable. And then students can work individually to complete this exercise. After that, students can work in pairs and use the online Webster's dictionary to check their answers. Also, they can click the icon of the little loudspeaker and read after it. Repellent. The next phonological features that students can explore from the online dictionary is the stress and the weak form. Firstly, teacher will demonstrate how to spot the stress syllable like compass. Students can tap their table harder when they pronounce the stress syllable like come. Then students will work individually to highlight the stress syllable. After that, they'll work in pairs and use the online Oxford Learners Dictionaries to check the answer and try to pronounce the stress. As for teaching weak form, firstly, teacher can tell students the weak form usually appear in unstressed syllables, and then students will be asked to identify the weak form and in the words by themselves. After that, they'll explore the feature from the online dictionary in groups. Also, they can practice pronouncing the weak form in those words. Lastly, teacher can drill the pronunciation of the weak form with the class, like compass, repellent, umbrella, toilet, camera, and so on. The same strategy can be applied to teach other phonological features with the use of dictionary. For example, length of sounds, like the E sound in credit and the E sound in clean. Also, the final consonant. Chinese students might tend to drop the final consonant t in tent, as we don't have this kind of word final obstruents in Chinese, and they might also mispronounce s and z, as in glass and keys. It would also be helpful for students to differentiate the monophthong and diphthong, like O in fishing rod and O in robe, by looking at the IPA symbols in the online dictionaries. Finally, it comes to the last test stage. Students can work in pairs, pronounce the target vocabulary items again. Their peer will evaluate their pronunciation and tick the second box. Students can compare the first box and the second box to see if they have made any progress throughout the lesson by using online dictionaries as a supporting tool. This is all for the lesson 3. Next, we can have a look at the lesson 4.
Now we have lesson 4, and I'm going to talk about the use of dictionary and the assessment criteria of our final task. First, students should match the words with items in the picture, and then check the meaning of these words from the online Oxford Learners Dictionary. Next, students should first work in pairs to predict and write down the collocation of these words in the left column, and then check the online Oxford Learners Dictionaries for the proper collocations and fill the blanks in the right column. Through practice and the comparison, students will be more aware of the importance of dictionary in collocation learning. and the left 45 minutes will be used to conduct a writing task. Here is our task scenario. Suppose you participate in an overnight camping tour organized by our school. Under the guidance of the teacher, students spend one night in the Clearwater Bay Country Park. And after arriving at the campsite, students were divided into a group of 3 to prepare for the overnight camping. And each student should have his own division of labor. And the next day, students are supposed to submit a 150 words camping log to report his main work last night and the problems he encountered. Before writing, the teacher will briefly introduce the structure of the camping log because students have never been exposed to this kind of writing before. The camping log should begin with the background information like date and place and includes detailed description of the event and end up with conclusions and feelings. Then we will have a brainstorm activities. Students should look at the pictures, discuss and write down the major tasks involved in an overnight camping. So there may be fishing, cooking, pitching tents, and water purification, and so on. After the group discussion, the teacher will introduce the topic dictionaries, and the students should use the topic dictionaries to find some general topic-related words to supplement the camping activities they sought. And after that, each student should choose a specific task and try to imagine some possible problems they may encounter in the task and draft their log in about 5 minutes. While writing, the teacher will first help the students to review the use of dictionary. For example, from the definition of objects, students can know the exact name of its components, and from the Oxford Collocation Dictionary column, students can learn collocations of different parts of speech. For example, when describing the process, they can say pitch a tent, and when describing the problem they encountered, they may say the tent was blown away by a strong wind or the tent collapsed. And they can also say there is a blah, blah, blah in the tent. What's more important, students can use the all matches column and word finders column to find more specific topic-related words. Because the topic dictionary is sometimes too general, students cannot use these words to describe the process of a specific task. Lastly, if students still cannot use these words to write a sentence, they can refer to extra examples for model sentences. And then students should use 15 minutes to write their own log. After writing, students are going to orally report the camping story they wrote to the other 2 group members, and the other 2 group members will use a peer evaluation form to mark its performance. The criteria include the accuracy of pronunciation, fluency, organization, and content. And after the peer review, students can teach each other with the help of dictionary. For example, they can check the uncertain pronunciations or expressions in the dictionary. After the peer review, students are going to revise their own writing. At the end of the session, students should hand in their own log for teacher to assess. And the assessment of our task will base on the following criteria. First is grammaticality. The students write completely grammatical sentences. And the second one is task achievement. Do they fully satisfy all requirements of this task? And the third one is word choice. The students use words closely related to the topic, and the students use specific words rather than general words. And the fourth one is collocation. The students use all collocations and expressions exactly and correctly according to a dictionary. And the last one is about organization and structure. The students organize all information logically, coherently, and they strictly follow the log structure. And finally, the teacher will give students an overall grade based on the average performance. And that's all about the presentation of our short course. Thank you.
Thank you.